Today's topic is Ashrei. It can make your day. The Gemara Masechtas Brachos Daf Daled Amud Beis says, "Kol ha'omer tehillah David b'chol yom shalosh pamim muftach lo yishu ben olam haba." Whoever says tehillah David, which is referring to Ashrei 3 times a day, muftach lo, he's assured that he's going to get a place in olam haba. The Mishabura in Siman Aleph Sif Hey says, "Ve'ein dai ba'amira." It's not enough just to say it. El yizbayne mashu aimer. You have to be mizbayne. You have to contemplate what it is that you are saying. V'yakir neflois Hashem, and you have to recognize the neflois Hashem. You have to recognize the wonders or how wondrous Hashem is. Shabur's telling us it's not enough just to say the words of Ashrei, but you have to actually think of what you're saying, and you have to come to a certain hakara, a certain recognition of Hashem's wonders. We say Ashrei 3 times a day, but how much thought do we give to what we are saying? There's a whole conversation happening in Ashrei. There's a whole back and forth that we can miss if we're just running through it. We say in Ashrei, "Seimich Hashem l'chol ha'neiflim v'zekiv l'chol ha'kafufim." HaKadosh Baruch Hu supports those who have fallen, and He straightens those who are bent. Einei chol elecha yisaperu ve'ata noisin lehem es achlan b'yitai. The eyes of everyone are looking to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, expectantly, and you give them their food at the proper time. And then we say, Peseach es yadecha, you open up your hands, umasbia l'chol chai ratzain, and you satisfy the desire of every living being. You know, sometimes we could read those words, Seimich Hashem l'chol ha'neiflim v'zekiv l'chol ha'kafufim, einei chol elecha yisaperu ve'ata noisin lehem es achlan b'yitai, Peseach es yadecha masbia l'chol chai ratzain, and we can feel a little down after that. We feel like, what about me? Does this only apply to everybody else? Is everybody else getting taken care of, getting their sustenance, getting their food, getting their parnas at the right time, getting support when they've fallen or whatever it is? What about me? I'm going through issues with parnas. I'm going through these different struggles, these different anxieties in my life. What about me? I also need the help. And it's possible to feel a little bit down after reading those psukim. So we have to look at what's the next pasuk that we say in Ashrei. We say, Tzadik Hashem b'chol derachav, v'chassid b'chol masav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is just in all His ways and pious in all His actions. What does that mean? Rabbi Yonatan Eibshitz in Yaros Tavash, in the first drush, when he's explaining the bracha of Salach Lanu, he says, Ki ein adam she'ein lo yisurin. There is nobody out there who doesn't have yisurin, that doesn't have some kind of trial or tribulation. But what? But he says, these yisurim, these tribulations that we get, are for a reason. We might not understand what the reason is, but there's a lesson we're supposed to take out of it. He says the problem is that very often we attribute it to mikra, we attribute it to just chance or nature. That just happens to be that I'm going through this issue. It happens to be that I'm having an issue with my livelihood or whatever it is. Rabbi Yonatan says that no, we're supposed to attribute it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is just, and that there's some kind of lesson that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to take out of it, and sometimes it may just be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to talk to Him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to call out to Him. So right after we're saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that's Peseach es yadecha masbia l'chol chai ratzain, you open up your hands, you satisfy everybody according to their needs. What about me? Tzadik Hashem b'chol derachav, v'chassid b'chol masav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ways are just, even if I don't understand. So what can I do about it? Is there anything I can do? The next pasuk we say is, Karev Hashem l'chol karav. Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is close to everybody that calls out to Him. And then we add a qualifier, l'chol asher yikru'u be'emes. Whoever is going to call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in truth. What does it mean to call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in truth? L'chol asher yikru'u be'emes, that we call out to Him in emes. So very often it's commonly translated as without ulterior motives or with sincerity. But I think that maybe you could say a drop differently. We say a little bit further on in davening, right after Kriya Shema, we say, Emes atu rishain, v'atu achrain, umi maladecha ein lanu melech goyel Mashiach. It's true that you are the first, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is nothing before you. V'atu achrain, you are the last, there is nothing after you. Umi maladecha, and except for you, ein lanu melech, we do not have a king, goyel, somebody that could redeem us, Mashiach, or somebody that could save us. What does it mean to call HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'emes? It means to recognize that everything everything is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we need help. Let's say, for example, with Parnas, we need help with our livelihood, we need help with our children. We can't rely on our boss. We can't rely on a business deal or a paycheck. You, Rebbeinu Shalom, everything is you. When we start to think about the fact that everything is Hashem, all the good that we've had in our lives, some of the stuff that doesn't seem as good, and we start to reflect, we start to realize that every bit of our lives, it's all Hashem, and there's nothing except for Hashem, this leads to two realities. This leads to the first reality, it leads to a certain Avas Hashem. You know, you can't love Hashem until you realize that Hashem loves you. How do you realize that Hashem loves you? When you reflect on all the good in this world, all the good that you've gotten in your life, even if right now you are going through a difficult time, even if right now there's something that you really, really need help with, there's something that you're struggling with, but in the past, the stuff that have been good, if you think about it and you realize that, you're going to feel a certain gratitude. A certain gratitude to who? If that gratitude is directed towards Hashem, then you're going to start to feel a certain love for Hashem. And at the same time, there's going to be a second reality that's going to kick in. You realize that the struggles that I'm going through right now, the tribulations that I have, that other people have that, thank God I might not have right now, but anything could happen. If that's also you realize that that's also Kadosh Baruch Hu, that leads to, at the same time, that leads to a certain yiras Hashem, a certain fear of Hashem. The Rambam, in Hilchos Yesod Torah, in Perek Beis, Halacha Beis, he says that there's a mitzvah of ahavtas Hashem lekecha, and then he says there's of loving Hashem, and he says there's a mitzvah also to fear Hashem. And he says, how do you get to that point? How do you get to the point of loving Hashem? How do you get to the point of fearing Hashem? He says, V'heichi haderech la'avasi v'yirasi. What's the derech to love and to fear Hashem? Zok the Rambam says, B'shah she'yizbainin ha'adam b'maisav u'v'rov ha'neflo magdoilim v'yir mehem chachmasei she'ilam erf le'kefer. A person starts to be yizbainin, a person starts to contemplate the actions of Hashem, and he starts to realize the limitless abilities that Hashem has. Miyad, immediately, hu oyev u'mishabeach u'mefor. He starts to love Hashem, he starts to praise Hashem. U'misavet tava gedola leida Hashem agadol. He becomes filled with a big tava to get to know Hashem. He wants to know Hashem in a real way because he's filled with so much gratitude that he has to Hashem. And the Rambam continues that on the flip side. It also leads to a certain fear. It leads to a certain trepidation when you realize that everything is Hashem. So what happens? We're saying, Karv Hashem l'chol karv l'chol Hashem kruv emes. When you start really coming onto HaKadosh Baruch Hu and emes and realize that everything is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that leads to a certain ahavas Hashem, a certain love of Hashem. It leads to a certain yiras Hashem, a certain fear of Hashem. And what are the next two psukim we say in Ashrei? We say, right after we talk about Karv Hashem l'chol Hashem kruv emes, we say, Ritzoin Yirei of Yaseh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does the will of those who fear Him. Ve'eshavasam Yishma v'yashim. He listens to what they have to say. Listens to them crying out to Him. And then after that we say, and He delivers them. And after we say, Shomer Hashem es kol avav v'eskar Hashem yashmer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu watches over those He loves. There's a similar idea that we say also in Vayivarech David. There's a minhag in Vayivarech David. It's Alpida Arizal that you give a little bit of tzedakah right before you say the words Va'osher va'kavod milfanecha va'ata moishel ba'kol. The osher and the kavod is yours. You rule over everything. Person separates a little bit of money for tzedakah and he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're in charge of the osher, you're in charge of the kavod. And again, a person could feel, I need help. I need help with my parnasa. You're in charge, Rebbeinu Shalom. Could you help me out? What's the next thing we say? Uviyadecha koyach hagevura, uviyadecha legado lechazik lakol. Just like it's in your hands to give me parnasa, it's also in your hand, the gadol lechazik lakol. Rebbeinu Shalom, if it's not time right now for me to get parnasa, if right now this is the nisayon that I have to go through, be mechazik me. Give me the strength that I need to overcome this nisayon. Give me the strength that I need, that I should grow. I should take the lessons that I need from this nisayon. It's a back and forth. The Rebbeinu Shalom is in charge of the parnasa, and please, Rebbeinu Shalom, you're the one that can do it, you can help me out. But if not, give me the strength that I need, that I should be able to rise to the challenge. Let's try to live a little higher and work on really calling out to Hashem, be'emes, in truth, recognizing the good, the bad, the seemingly bad, and everything in between. It's all Hashem. Let's contemplate Hashem's goodness and the fact that He alone controls everything. This will lead to increased Ahavas Hashem, Yiras Hashem, and Kirvas Elikim. And as the Mishnah Berurah wrote, by contemplating how wondrous Hashem is, and not just saying the words of Ashrei, this Ashrei that we're saying anyways 3 times a day, Muftach lo yeshu ben olam haba. We're going to rest assured that we're going to have a place in olam haba. Ashrei, it can make your day.